We're far from home, it's far better. What we keep, it's our hands. We'll be our way. United. Some days I wanna say things that don't be trust, things that don't be yourself. Something things like factions. Notice like 10 minutes. With boundary changes, opposition parties need movement strategies. Maybe I feel wrong, cause I thought with love was but my heart it was made of stone. I was not that deep after hours, but money is the power, but all that goes and all it goes. And just give me some love, cause I'm running out of that feeling. Doctor, prescribe me that. Yes, I need some more of your healing. Baby, turn me on. Healing. Baby, turn me on. How many is expect to have the main included for the rising ingredients? What's healthy make this keep ladies in those in and boost consumption. Business is also real steps to stabilize and stop the market and then you would say setting up and have that financial regulation when you get the country to do that. You can correct it. It's not going to work for one time. Then on is faster than the number of recording fees. Actually, on here, the drop is 1.9%. We can look at how male and office experience our us.
Good morning, day 5 of my mini cut. Today I woke up at 85.4 kg, so my weight has been stagnating for the past couple of days. But based on my experience, I know that my body takes some time to get into fat burning mode. But in today's video, let's talk about how to actually train during a mini cut, or rather in a caloric deficit. So for some of you that have been doing for quite some time, you have some experience in the gym, you probably already know the secret. For beginners, let me share with you the secret. Basically, you want to be training exactly the same. Okay, so how you put on the muscle is how you would essentially maintain the muscle. Okay, so when it comes to training during a caloric deficit, what you want to do is actually still lift as heavy as possible, as this will allow you to maximize the amount of muscle that you will retain during the caloric deficit. Okay, so there's also differences when it comes to training between like a mini cut and then a standard cut, right? Because for a mini cut it's quite short, so realistically speaking, there is really little to no changes towards the training. Okay, but let's say the cut is slightly longer, maybe at the end when you are accumulating more diet fatigue, then you may want to scale down the volume so that you can still maintain the strength. Okay, because muscular endurance for strength will be the first to drop lah, usually, especially when you are not eating as much carbs as you were during a lean bulk or a bulk, right? So the glycogen will be depleted much more quickly. Okay, especially if you are on low carbs. But what if you are a beginner? So I've been saying since day one, if you are a beginner, ideally you should not be doing a mini cut, right? But if you still want to do a mini cut, then I can't stop you. So let me share with you some tips how you can actually start building your training speed so that you can make progress. Okay, so ideally, based on science, the most optimal way to go about things is to train each muscle twice per week. Okay, so Firstly, what you want to do is actually to determine how many times a week can you go to the gym. Okay, for myself, I love to train, so I like to train you know, if I could every day, right? But we know that rest and recovery is also equally as important, right? So for me right now, my training split is 4 days on, 1 day off. What this means is I will train 4 times consecutively, then I'll take a rest day. Okay, this has been modified to my personal goals and strengths, weaknesses, recovery, everything lah. So it took many years of refining to actually determine this to be my effective for me. Okay, wait lah, it's quite noisy. Okay, so if you are a beginner, let's say you only can hit the gym twice a week. Okay, minimum you should be going at least twice lah, because like I said, you need to be hitting each muscle at least twice a week. So if you're only going 1 time, you could still make progress, but it's not as optimal as if you were to hit each muscle twice a week. Okay, so if you only can dedicate 2 times a week to go to the gym, then a full body split 2 times a week will be the most ideal. Okay, so how to do? Just Google full body 2 times a week, and then you will just follow the workout, watch a lot of videos how to do the form and technique. Because especially if you are a beginner, the most important to focus on is the technique, because you want to be able to progress with proper technique and engage the correct muscle. So if you only can dedicate 2 times a week to go to the gym, full body is the way to go. Okay, 3 times a week, maybe upper lower full body. Okay, that's what I will do if it's 3 times a week. Then 4 times a week, you can do upper lower. There has been a lot of good things about the upper lower split. Okay, so as a beginner, definitely getting the frequency and the volume in will be beneficial. Okay, so in terms of training split, that's about it. Okay, what about how to actually go about it? Is you just need to focus on progressive overload, right? But of course, first thing first is to get your technique right, then you progress. Okay, so if you are constantly progressing in the gym, this is definitely a good sign that you are building muscle. Okay, and if you are on a caloric deficit, this is also a good sign that you are maintaining as much muscle as possible. In terms of sets and reps, scientifically speaking, the best rep range for hypertrophy goes from, if I'm not wrong, it's about 4 to 5 reps all the way up to 50 reps. Personally, I like to train within the 6 to 20 rep range. Okay, because I am slightly more experienced, so when it comes to training, I like to train a little bit more intuitively. Okay, but if you are a beginner, the best is to follow a structure first, so that you can really understand how your body works. Okay, so like maybe a good starting point would be like 8 to 12 repetitions. That would be definitely a good range for hypertrophy. So in terms of the total amount of sets you should be doing per week, scientifically speaking, it's around 10 to 20 sets per muscle group, right? So this should be split between that 2 times per week frequency, right? So let's say if you were doing a full body split, right? So let's say chest will be one of the muscle group, right? So at the start, you should be maybe doing, if you are a beginner, maybe 5 sets on the first full body day, and then another 5 sets on the second full body day. And then if you are able to recover well, then you can start adding sets. But most importantly is try to progress in the weight first before you start to add sets lah. Then you can see whether are you actually recovering well from the volume. Ultimately, when it comes to training, there isn't really a best split, because it all really depends on the individual. I think many people fail to account the most important factor when it comes to training, which is adherence, right? So let's say what I'm doing is optimal, but I'm training 6 times a week. If you find it difficult to commit to 6 times a week, do you think it's more effective for you if, let's say, you only can focus on just going for 3 super effective sessions, right? So ultimately, you have to decide what will work for you in the long term. Okay, many people want to look for the most optimal split because they want results quick, right? But actually consistency is what matters, right, when it comes to achieving a transformation. So if you only can do 2 times a week, 2 times per week is the best training split for you, right? If you can do 6 times a week, then 6 times a week for you. But most importantly is actually to have the principles regardless how many times are you training, right? So the principles to go by is, of course, you want to train hard, right? So personally, I like to take a lot of my sets to failure, right? Because that will allow me to really know that I am giving my all. Okay, so another thing is, of course, the most important, progressive overload, right? But realistically speaking, sometimes it's not so easy, especially in a caloric deficit. But this is why I want to train to failure, because this ensures that I'm actually training my hardest. Okay, so if I'm always training my hardest or training heavy, this will make sure that I'm retaining as much muscle as possible. Okay, so remember, don't just follow blindly what other people are doing or what they say is optimal, because you have to also remember that adherence comes with enjoyment as well, right? So you have to enjoy the split that you are doing, right? So like upper lower, they say is definitely something that is have been quite popular lately, because it apparently is the most optimal, especially for natural lifters, right? But personally, I don't see myself enjoying that kind of split, because I am more old school, right? I started 12 years ago, so back then is all the bro split. So we are really more in love with like the pump, and then really destroying the muscle. Okay, so I used to train super high volume, but as I am older and wiser now, I know that recovery is more important also. So yeah, so just Google training splits, and then you see what is the best for you, right? Then try. I mean, don't be afraid to try different splits, right? So you can really explore what works best for you. So that's all for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll start dropping weight.